Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Dion Holloway. Holloway was shot and killed on Tuesday, September 25, 2007, in the 1700 block of Belmont Avenue in Pasadena, according to LA County coroner records. Cameron Walker, Eric Williams, and Juan Villatoro were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. At approximately 10 p.m., when Holloway was fatally shot on Belmont Avenue in Pasadena, 3 witnesses heard multiple gunshots and looked in the direction from which they had come. Valenzuela saw a short, heavy-set person wearing a dark-colored hoodie standing over a body, pointing what she thought was a gun at the body. After the shooting, she saw him enter the passenger side of an older model Ford SUV. Devine saw a black SUV pass by slowly and saw a young man lying in the street. 2 days later, she identified for investigators a photograph of the SUV driven by defendant Williams that night. Hunter saw a young man who had been shot and a black Ford Explorer passing by. Detective Gomez arrived on the scene within 2 minutes of the shooting and saw a black male lying face down in the street with several gunshot wounds to his torso and head. The detective observed several expended Hornady brand 9mm shell casings nearby. Forensic specialist Kevin Room testified that he rarely encountered Hornady brand casings. Approximately 2.5 hours after the shooting, Pasadena police officer Marcos de la Riva saw a speeding black Ford Explorer and followed it to its destination, defendant Villatoro's home on Glen Avenue in Altadena. Officer de la Riva detained the occupants and identified the driver as defendant Williams and the passenger as Villatoro. Both occupants were wearing dark-colored hooded sweatshirts. Perched atop the resident's mailbox was an empty box of Hornady 9mm bullets, a brand Officer de la Riva had never heard of before. A black plastic case that fit into the box was found in the trash nearby. A cast was made of tire impressions found at the murder scene. Lynn Harold, an LA County Sheriff's forensic scientist, analyzed it and determined that 2 of the tires on defendant Williams' Ford Explorer could have made the marks. Defendant Walker's fingerprints were found on the windshield and hood of the Explorer. The victim, Dion Holloway, died after sustaining 7 gunshot wounds, 3 to the head, 1 to the neck, 1 to the back, and 2 above the hip. Deputy Medical Examiner Riley Solomon, who performed the autopsy, testified that the wounds to the back and hip were consistent with Holloway having been shot as he was running away from the shooter. He could no longer have been running while receiving the wounds to the back of the head. Villatoro and Williams were friends. During September 2007, they saw each other daily, and Williams often drove Villatoro to sell methamphetamine. Williams came to Villatoro's home with defendant Walker on September 25, 2007, and Villatoro met them in front of the house. Walker held a gun, which Villatoro thought was a .357. As Villatoro approached, Walker wrapped the gun in a rag and put it into the engine compartment of Williams' vehicle. Later, Villatoro saw Walker with a second gun, a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. When Villatoro saw an ammunition box in the trash can, he retrieved it and placed it on top of the mailbox, telling Walker to throw it away somewhere else. Williams then asked Villatoro to come with him to take Walker home, somewhere in or near Pasadena. When they left, Walker was in the front passenger seat, Williams was driving, and Villatoro was in the back. As they headed down Fair Oaks Avenue in the residential area, Walker told Williams to bust a right, and Williams circled around as Walker directed him where to go. When they saw a group of African-American men, Walker directed Williams to turn left, descend the hill, stop, and park, explaining that he needed to handle something. Walker went to the front of the car, Williams released the hood at Walker's request, and Walker came back with gloves and a 9mm handgun. Walker called the group of men slobs, a derogatory term for members of blood gangs. Villatoro looked through the back window at Walker as he walked uphill to a man walking downhill. They spoke, and a few seconds later, Walker began shooting at the man, who turned and ran. Walker chased him, shooting, and when the man fell, Walker continued to shoot him while he was on the ground, 4 or 5 times in all. Walker then came back to the car, put the gun back under the hood, and told Williams to drive away at a normal pace. After first making a few stops, they took Walker home where he took the guns from the engine compartment and then went into his house. After his arrest, Villatoro was interviewed by police. Thinking that he could earn leniency, he decided to cooperate. At first, however, he told the police several different untrue stories because he was afraid that Williams was behind the glass listening. Villatoro denied that he was a gang member. He testified that Walker was a member of a Crip gang, but claimed that Williams was no longer an active member. Because Walker and Williams had tried to persuade Villatoro to join the gang, he was concerned when they picked him up the night of the murder that they wanted him to do some work for the gang. Detective Gomez testified that blue was a symbolic color for Crip gangs. He described defendant Walker's tattoos and explained how they were related to the Altadena Blocc Crip gang. He testified that a member of that gang, LaRon Brown, had been murdered in ABC territory in June 2007. The suspects were several members of Pasadena Denver Lanes, a blood gang at war with ABC. LA County Sheriff Detective Joel Nabel, who was assigned to the Altadena gang unit, testified as the prosecution's gang expert. He believed that Walker was a member of ABC. He based his opinion on Walker's ABC-related tattoos, speaking to people in the community, and information provided by a confidential, reliable informant. Prior to trial, Villatoro entered into an agreement for immunity and leniency in exchange for his truthful testimony in this case. Among other things, the plea agreement permitted Villatoro to plead guilty to being an accessory with a sentence of 12 years in prison in exchange for his truthful testimony in defendant's case. Following the trial, Walker was convicted of first-degree murder and Williams was convicted of second-degree murder. The jury also found true the gun and gang allegations. On December 22, 2009, the court sentenced Cameron Walker to a total prison term of 80 years to life. The court sentenced Eric Williams to a total prison term of 60 years to life. Dion Holloway was 17 years old at the time of death.